We are living in the age of sequels and reboots since the industry ran out of ideas and is now simply regurgitating the same franchises. Why risk new stuff when you know the old one will sail by name alone? It's easy money. With that said, making a sequel is much harder than it seems and is often only managing to damage the image of the original. The inherent problem of sequels is forcing a continuation where the first one ended in a satisfying way. A new conflict must arise, which often renders pointless whatever the characters achieved so far. It feels petty for taking away the happy ending they struggled to achieve. It's extra damaging when the authors have no idea how to continue a story that apparently has nothing left to need another season. They are forced to take away character development, making everyone regressing back to square one with no in-story excuse, and having them repeating the same situations and mistakes as if they never learned from past experiences. Even when they try not to regress developments, the only way for a new conflict to still be threatening is to be even more severe than the previous one. This is a smart way to make a sequel, especially when it feels like the characters are facing threats proportionate to their abilities. Smaller threats are nothing to worry about, bigger ones are beyond their reach and are not affecting or concerning them yet. Sadly, this is usually not the case, since very few authors can actually make every next conflict to be more elaborate or stressing, often resulting to the issue of power creep. It is constantly the exact same thing with bigger explosions. Then there is also the issue of novelty wearing off. If the first one was the introduction to story and cast, everything thereafter does not get a pass because we know the characters and we expect to see something more. This means things must change or the story gets boring for being one of the same without a novelty to keep you going. The problem with change is that it's moving away a story from what it felt at first, thus alienating the audience for progressively having less in common with what they liked about it in the beginning. A cheap way many are using to avoid this is to constantly introduce more characters and abilities. By doing that, the story is stuck in a perpetually ongoing introduction phase, where the audience keeps seeing new aspects of the setting without actually changing something in it. Introductions expand it without having to alter it. Though this too has a problem, since by constantly expanding a roster and the locations of a setting, most lose their importance since there are a lot of things going on at once and it's impossible to focus evenly on each and every one of them. Furthermore, newer characters will often be treated as side notes to the older ones, since it takes a lot of time to get used to someone new, as opposed to keep expecting to see more of someone you already invested a lot of time on. Which is another issue with sequels. They are slaves to previous installments. They are confined by the restrictions of previous seasons, since they have to follow whatever happened there, instead of having the liberty to establish anything they like, however they like it. These limitations include whatever plot holes and inconsistencies the previous arcs established. Although you can retcon excuses later on, you are still forced to keep going with those being canon. Down to it, a sequel should feel like a logical continuation from where the previous installment stopped, instead of a shoehorned new conflict that came out of nowhere. But this implies there are plot points that can be expanded from where they left off, and that they are worth making another season for. Something which is very hard to achieve and is often ending up being just a cash grab.
Whoa! Some stunning things got announced. Overlord, Kino's Journey, Code Geass, Eureka 7, and other series alongside of that have been announced to come back. Almost every single month to every couple weeks, we're getting something that's coming back from the grave. What the fuck? The way it's looking now, with all of these sequels, it's looking like a fucking fantastic year. What the hell? Like, this might be a new golden age of anime coming about. What the hell is going on? This year is just going off the walls with a remake, but it's going to be kind of getting a sequel. It's mind-blowing. Let's bring out all of the stops. Every fucking series that people have been waiting for needs to come. Whoa, what the hell? Now, I'm just waiting for Spice and Wolf. When Spice and Wolf comes, oh my god, I'm gonna be running around in fucking circles. Oh my god. Mob Psycho now. Mob Psycho, please. Mob Psycho. I need that too. What the fuck? I personally have not watched Eureka 7. The only reason why I know about the series is because people hold this series up there in high regard. That is just fucking stunning. It just seems like the golden age of anime is coming back. What the hell?
For those of you who don't know what a catharsis is, in film terms, it mostly means how the show ends and how everything is just kind of wrapped up. When a show does a good ending, it really does put it a tier above the rest. If there is no noble sacrifice, then what was the price for all of this? In these kinds of conflicts, even if you win, you still lose in some way.
No! God, please, no! 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 the hype where I gotta just say One Piece will finally enter Wano next year. You said the same thing last year, right? It might take longer than that. This man has so much subplot and details that he likes to add to One Piece, which overall milk the clock because he knows One Piece is hot right now, so he's swimming in his money all day.
When I said only 2 arcs in Hunter x Hunter were good and the rest were average or worse, many claimed that every arc was important because it was introducing something that will be important later on. Same thing with One Piece. I said arcs like Skyepia and Mermaid Island were mediocre, and many defended them as a build-up to things that will happen later on. And when I said Batman v Superman was a bad movie, many said you shouldn't rush to judge it because it was an introduction to the formation of the Justice League. This is a common excuse when someone wants to defend the title. A part of a story may be dull, but it's otherwise necessary because it's building up stuff. You can't expect every arc to be a highlight or every battle to be a major showdown, so you shouldn't judge an ongoing series based on a bad arc. I understand that there shouldn't be complete closure when an arc ends and another one is about to begin, but it's one thing to say the whole thing was just build up and another thing to be satisfied with how an arc ends even when it's not the final one. If there are too many loose ends and the final showdown is anticlimactic or doesn't even exist, it is natural to be disappointed for not getting some sort of a payoff. It feels like you're watching a 50-episode teaser of another teaser of another teaser of something that will probably never be completed in this century. Unless you are watching for the sake of watching because you are a junkie addicted to dopamine blue balls, then this is a legit problem. I don't care if Skyepia introduced the poneglyphs that will be important after 500 episodes, and I don't care if Batman v Superman is important for the formation of the Justice League. If I finish an arc and all I felt is that it was an over-glorified trailer for things to come, this does not excuse it to be boring and anticlimactic.
I'll introduce one of the legends which lurks in One Piece world. The greatest enemy ever for Straw Hats will hinder their way. Perhaps it will be something related to Whitebeard. Okay, could it be he's talking about the weapons like Poseidon and all that shit with Shirahoshi? Is that something that he's referring to? Is it something deeper? Is it going to be something related to the One Piece itself?
I'm not defending Dragon Ball as a smart series or that well written, but I will say it had some of the best payoffs in every showdown. It was slow and had fillers, but most characters had something to do. It got really shitty towards the end where only Goku and Vegeta matter, something which wasn't corrected in GT or Super. So the question is, why was this piece of shit even made if it doesn't try to satisfy the old fans? There is no payoff for past mistakes, there is only cashing on nostalgia. And do you know the saddest part? It's working. People flock around the shitty movies, buy the shitty video games and make shitty videos where they overthink the broken power levels. Since I am checking out the growth of channels over the past 2 years, I have seen how anyone who talks about Dragon Ball Super has gained thousands of subscribers in a few months. This is the one and only reason nobody is openly admitting it's a fucking piece of shit, because it gives them traffic. They don't care about the payoff, they are just cashing in on the fad. All these channels talking about hype and excitement for the upcoming Boruto series or the new Hunter x Hunter chapters, they don't mean it, they are just pretending to be excited for the sake of views and increased revenue, which is bloody shameless and yet another example of why the industry does not need to try making good shows anymore. I mean, why the fuck should Toriyama even try to write a proper plot if he sees that whatever shit he makes will sell regardless of quality? If the fans don't care, why should he? And don't you tell me it was always like that, because it will be a fat lie. When I was a kid, there was no YouTube, there was no internet, and there were no digital cameras you would film yourself pretending to be excited for the sake of making money. Okay, I was a dumb kid who liked pretty much everything, but I wasn't acting like an autistic buffoon for the sake of money. I was expecting a payoff from whatever I was watching. If I wasn't getting it, I would be angry and I would tell others about it. So what kind of a fucked up community have we created when you are supposed to pretend liking everything or getting the fuck out? Why is anyone who points out the flaws in a show he didn't enjoy is a troll and a hater instead of a critical thinker who expects a certain amount of quality from what he is watching? Nobody cares about a payoff anymore. Everybody is instead whoring themselves for money and fame. And sure, I am making money as well, but not by pretending to be a happy camper. I am saying things nobody else has the balls to tell you, and that is my payoff.
In order to explain this character better, I need to add these details, and it helps to add to this situation, and it goes like there, and that's what creators do. So props to Oda that he loves his story so much that it exceeds his expectations.
This guy was asking why do so many popular shows end in such a bad or mediocre manner, and the answers he got were on point and in agreement with everything I've been telling you over the years. Let's go over them. The weakest answer is simply saying that they are made for children and therefore there are no high expectations when it comes to the story. It's true, since shonen tards are content with practically nothing. They initially become popular because their premise sounds interesting, but that doesn't mean the authors know how to handle handle them, much less know how to end them. Coming up with interesting ideas on how to start a story is a lot easier than writing a conclusive ending. The reason the authors don't know how to handle them is because there is no plan. They make it up as they go along. Furthermore, they can be terminated at a moment's notice because the producers no longer care. Coming up with a believable ending right before a sudden cancellation and when there never was a plan is practically impossible. The reason authors can't plan ahead is because the companies are forcing them to milk the show for all it's worth. Authors cannot structure later arcs because they are mostly preoccupied with adding more content just for extending the life of a franchise instead of moving forward with the content they already have. And the more stuff they add, the harder it becomes to maintain a structured plot. Therefore, popular shows have crappy endings because there is no investment in ending them properly. They are made to be perpetual and not to have a satisfying ending. Everybody cares when they are ongoing and stops caring when they end. The companies make money when the shows don't end. Anime-related channels make more videos while the shows are ongoing, and the audience is pleased when it's watching new material of whatever they like. Why would anyone care about the ending? Nobody cares about how a show ends. They only care about the fact that it ended.
Just consume product and then get excited for next products.
When The Devil is a Part-Timer came out back in 2013, a lot of people loved it because they had never seen a reverse isekai before. It's otherwise nothing special, just another adaptation of a light novel, and a 5 out of 10 at best. For a decade, many were constantly asking when is another season coming out, and were really excited when they finally heard it's coming. They hyped the living hell out of this show before it came out, then the first season aired and the entire community forgot its existence. How is that possible when they were so hyped up about it? It's not because there were a lot better shows to follow in the same season, because that's what happened with the first season as well. The answer is, because what they were actually interested in was getting another season, not actually watching another season. That's what the mentality of always being hyped for more products leads you to. It's not about lacking the product, it's about getting it, and to then be excited for more products. That is obviously not true for all products. Actually, good series will be enjoyed by a lot of people, but in this case, we don't have a good show. We have yet another possible light novel adaptation. The sequel is also not as good as the first season. It had a different art style, it had a lower budget, its plot was dumber by including a comic relief baby. People had watched better reverse isekai during the decade of its absence, and those who read the ending of the novel found it to be terrible. Basically, everything was against this anime since it didn't do something better than the first, and the hype only enlarged the disappointment. Just another sequel that failed to live up to its expectations, the same way most sequels fail. It was once again proven that there is no point in being hyped for what is to come, since it is almost certain that it will never going to be as good as you think it's going to be. You should enjoy what you have now, and in case there is more to come, you should have no expectations, so you won't be disappointed, even if it's worse, which it most likely going to be. Screw being excited for stuff that haven't come out yet, and screw theory crafting regarding what you think will happen. The less you act like a monkey on hit, the more you will actually enjoy the final product.